Hi, I'm Marty Nemko. Today I want to talk with you about people who are distractible and who either are or are considering going on Ritalin, whether it be kids or adults. True, many kids and adults who have trouble focusing have been helped by Ritalin or its siblings such as Vyvanse, I think it's called, Concerta, or the newer Evakea, which appears to have fewer side effects. But some people who are distractible might be helped with these non-drug approaches. It's helpful to estimate what you think the inattention's cause or causes are: physiological, emotional, and or boredom. First, let's talk about physiological approaches. If you sense the inattention's cause is physiological, whether or not you try medication, one or more of these can help. Reduce potential for distraction. That's the obvious suggestion. Work in a distraction-free place, for example, your bedroom rather than a cafe. In a classroom or when doing homework, use a carol. Those are three blocks here, the visual distractions on three signs. Don't listen to music or have the TV on as you work. But conversely, it may be helpful to accept the distractibility. Some people find it more helpful to forgive themselves and allow the flitting from thing to thing. But in exchange, promise yourself you're going to put more time in total. So, for example, if you or your child have a report to write and often are tempted to play on the internet, get a snack, make a phone call, whatever, do it and say to yourself you deserve it. But then work at it longer. Everyone has a different style of working, and if that's what works for you, don't beat yourself up. To be really honest, that's the way it is with me. When I was writing this article, which I'm reading to you now, every minute or so I was getting distracted or bored or just wanted to change a pace. So I did everything from weed for a few minutes to play with my dog, to eat something, to look something up on the internet. But I just said, okay, after a brief break like that, I simply went back to my seat and finished the article. Okay, now, if you think that the reason for your inattention at least is partly emotional, say by a current or a past trauma like abuse or a serious disease in the family, parents who were just screaming. If that's significant, that impact will usually be top of mind for you. You'll think that you'll be aware that that's what's causing it. But if not, forcing yourself to come up with a trauma, real or especially if imagined, can cause more trouble than it solves. There was this, about 25 years ago, there was this hot therapy called recovered memories, but it has now been widely debunked. So don't jump to some emotional explanation for your inattention. But if it's top of mind, yeah, you may want to pay attention to it. And if it is, sometimes effective is simply to keep reminding yourself that revisiting that trauma is only going to make matters worse. But if that doesn't work sufficiently, and you sense the trauma's memory won't soon fade sufficiently, a next step might be to journal about it, and explain to yourself why it might be wise to just move forward, or learn some lessons from it, or discuss it with a kind friend or a relative. And if that doesn't work, it may be worth trying a few sessions with a cognitive behavioral therapist. Now let's say boredom is a cause or the major cause of the inattention. Maybe you try a more motivating project. For example, you might adapt an assignment to your interest. For example, if your boss or your child's teacher assigns something you could imagine distracting yourself from, propose that alternative. For example, let's say you're told to research one of your company's or nonprofit's competitors, and your boss says, analyze their financials. But you know that you would be better at and enjoy interviewing. So you might ask your boss if you might spend less time on the quantitative and at least some time interviewing employees or customers at that competitive organization. Or let's say your child is assigned to do a paper on the thymus gland, and your child has a family member who suffers from hypothyroidism, a different gland, and because of that tends to gain weight. If your child might be more motivated to write about thyroid or hypothyroidism, you might encourage your child to ask permission from the teacher. Teacher will usually say yes, or at least often say yes. Or if your child is bad at or dislikes writing, maybe he or she could fulfill the assignment by creating a captioned set of drawings, or even make a YouTube video. Another approach to dealing with inattention that's caused by boredom is to change the teacher or school even. Some students can tolerate a teacher who's boring or who pays insufficient attention to your child's need for higher level work or lower level work. But inattentive kids are more likely to space out or act out, and that can make a teacher punitive and or recommend that your child go on some ADD drug. It's usually wise to tactfully ask the teacher what we can do so you don't put it all on the teacher. But if insufficient change occurs, it may be time to ask the principal for a change of class. In some cases, an entire school is focused on students whose educational level is far lower or far higher than your child's, or when the general tenor among the students is just ill-fitting to your child's personality. It may then be appropriate to request, if your kid's in a public school, an inter-district transfer to another public school within the district, or even, I guess that's what's called an intra-district permit, or even outside the district to another public school that's a much better fit, or consider a better suited private school. Financial aid may be available. Regarding grade skipping, that's another tool for dealing with a child who's bored in school. Especially if the bored child is quite bright and is socially mature, skipping one or more grades is worth considering. Key is whether the child is motivated to do it and the receiving teacher is willing. It helps if that teacher selects a kind, well-liked classmate to teach your child the ropes. Now just a couple of suggestions for inattention, no matter what its root cause is. Become more aware of what I call the moment of truth. Be more vigilant to that moment when you start to get distracted. At that moment, decide whether it's okay to be distracted or whether to try to focus. You will at least more often choose to focus. And the final tip I want to offer is to allow unstructured time. Most people, with 1 million brain neurons firing per second, intuit what they should be doing at a given time. What you're calling or we're calling a distraction may be their brain telling them they need to take a break, to read, to exercise, to plan for something, or just veg out. Overscheduling your child's time eliminates that valuable time where your kid can intuit what he or she wants. Of course, distractibility can reduce a person's success and happiness, but there are a range of approaches that can help. Sometimes, best of all, is self-acceptance. In any event, I do thank you for watching. I'm Marty Nemko. I welcome your thumbs up and accept your thumbs down. I always look forward to your comments and especially like it if you hit the share button below. Share on your social media so that my efforts can have broader impact. And I am flattered if you choose to subscribe to my channel. In any event, I do thank you for watching. I am Marty Nemko.